recording in progress, right? So I just to announce the recording, I do have a YouTube channel, and the recording does go on there, but it goes unlisted. The reason why, because some people don't want necessarily shared, but it's good memorabilia for the guest, and also people that didn't see it, that are normally regulars that do want to catch up and see it, then they've got the opportunity there to listen to the recording. So you can share the link with people, and people are aware that, yeah, they're okay with that. Even my son, it's aware, aren't you? Yes. Right. Hi, Paul. Right. So maybe we'll just go. We'll just go around very quickly. Evelina, you're going to actually present yourself, so we'll just hold back on you at the moment. So this is just for people to understand that this is a weekly show. It's called Featured Business, brought to you by myself, James Moffat, and Visibility Impact, which is my business. Visibility to help you create visibility so you can make an impact, right? And we do it in combination with 𝗪𝗡𝗏, the home of entrepreneurs. And there's normally someone from 𝗪𝗏 here. So Victoria can't make it, Johan can't make it, Ida can't make it. So let's see if someone from 𝗪𝗏 joins, but not to worry. It's just for them to plug 𝗪𝗏 as well. It's interactive in the way that we normally go through this with the guest for the first 20-30 minutes, unless there's questions from the guest that wants to ask the audience. But then typically after that, we open it up to the audience to interact, and you can ask questions and then join in. So can you hear some?
So we have some very disturbing noise in the background. I'm not sure.
Maybe if people can mute themselves. It sounds like a dicky bird in the background. Right. Okay, so then people can join in. It's very interactive. Everybody, the whole objective is everyone to get to know each other. There's regulars that come on every week, so that's great. So they know each other. And if you don't and you want to be a guest, then come forward. There's already been some guests already here. So Boyan's been a guest, Winifred, Laszlo, Paul's going to be a guest. Oh, Marta's here. Marta is from 𝗪𝗏, so maybe Marta, you can just, because there's some new people here, or at least, introduce 𝗪𝗏 just in a short, brief description of what 𝗪𝗏 is, and then we'll kick this off. And where are you, Marta?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak. So hello, everyone. My name is Marta, and I am a community manager on 𝗪𝗏. And for those who don't know, it's let's say a platform for entrepreneurship, a community. We do different things, try to connect people with each other, do some events, launch initiatives. So that's about us. I'm not sure what else I'm supposed to say, but I am in Italy now. Spending my time here.
Okay. I mean, Marta, if you're not on 𝗪𝗏 already, feel free to join. You don't have to join. There's no obligation to join. But if you are, then it's a community of like-minded people, entrepreneurs. I think everyone is on 𝗪𝗏 anyway, aren't they? Mark, are you on 𝗪𝗏?
No, I don't think I am.
Okay.
I can try and put that right.
Okay. It's just that there's
I'll send you the invite for that.
Oh, right. You jumped in first, right? Okay. I guess, because we've all got personal invites, and you get credit for the people that you invite. So I was just going to say, Mark,
You're welcome to collect your credits.
No, but I mean, I guess you invited Mark, didn't you? Okay, so you should get the credit for that. Feel free to use the chat if you want to jump in or ask a question, although we will open it up to everybody to join in and participate. Right, we kick this off normally with Emily, just before we go to our guest. Right, so just hold on. And Emily normally kicks this off with a song, but unfortunately she couldn't make it today. So normally if she can't make it, Boyan normally sings. I say that every week, and he never sings. So. Right. So anyway, so she
because you mute me. just after I start.
Oh yeah, I had to mute you one time. I remember. Right. So Emily kicks us off with a song. It's normally live. She does it with kids as well because she does summer camps and things with kids, but she can't make it today. So when she can't make it, she gives me one of her many videos from her collection of different either cover songs or her own songs now, so which are quite amazing. So I'm just going to share my screen and you're going to hear Emily sing. And yeah, and then after that, we'll jump straight into the guest. Is that okay, everyone? Okay, right, here we go. All right. Yeah, you should see this now. Emily, if you can guess the song, although you probably see it on the title anyway. Yeah. Bravo.
Beautiful. That's
Thanks again, Emily.
amazing voice.
So Emily will get a copy of this anyway. I'm fiddling around with different screens. I've got 3 screens here and I'm pushing the wrong buttons all the time. So hi, Inna. Thanks for joining. A little late. What's your excuse?
Hello, James. Hello, everyone. Sorry for being late. I had a meeting before, so.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Well, welcome. So this is an opportunity for people to get to know each other as well. So we're on. Oh, and Emma's also been a guest as well, haven't you? You've been a
yes, it was a pleasure.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Martha to be one. She's gone shy now. So, Evelina, right, over to you. Evelina, right? You are our 61st guest, right? And we mark this occasion also. It's quite appropriate today because today is something that also you're covering as a guest as one of your specialities or one of your fields of experience that you've got in. What is the actual name for today's day?
It's World Suicide Prevention Day today.
Right. Okay. And 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, so it is, as it is World Suicide Prevention Day, it's quite relevant to what I do, really. So yeah, I'll share with you a little bit more about that.
It's good to have your support team in the back.
Right, sorry about that. As I said, I've got the kids this afternoon. My wife is at school camp with her kids, which is a different school. Otherwise, I would tell her to take these three. So sorry about it. So could you maybe just repeat that, because I missed what you said? So today,
yeah, so it is World Suicide Prevention Day, and overall this week and this month is there's a lot of activities happening around this topic. So it's a cause that's very close to my heart, and it underlines a lot of reasons for what I do and why I do that. So yeah, looking forward to sharing a little bit more with you.
right, but you don't just do that, but we're going to come on to that a bit later. So first of all, before we get into the business side, we're going to learn a bit more about you and who you are and where you're from, where you are now, and then a little bit about your life journey before you got to this point. So Evelina. How do you pronounce it? Could you say your surname? Because I'm not going to even try.
𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧.
Right. Can anybody say that for 10 points? Go on, Boyan.
𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧.
Oh, well done.
I trained, so
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's easy. It's 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧.
Great. Mark's done it before. He's been interviewing me on some of his radio shows as well. So yeah, he had a chance to practice.
I bet Ina knows how to say it.
𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧. Sorry.
That's okay.
Right. But we have kind of Eastern Europeans here as well. So Boyan's Bulgarian, Laszlo Hungarian, and Ina Russian. And Marta, where are you from?
From Latvia.
Oh, right. See? Right. Okay. So do you have a problem with that when you go to book in hotels and restaurants and everything, and people want to pronounce and our next guest is
yeah, I do often become just Evelina D, because sometimes it's just too painful to look to hear, you know, all of the distortions of my surname. So I say, just don't say it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll be Evelina D. I'll be happy with that.
All right. Well, that's good for me then, because I'm terrible with names, even the first names.
Right. I think I can try it.
Yeah.
Have a go, yeah. 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧.
Yeah, I think it's easier to pronounce the ending. I think what is very often difficult for English speakers to pronounce is D and Z together. So it's Z. Yeah. So those sounds, I think, for Boyan, it's and for anyone who's from different languages, I think it's easier to pronounce that. Otherwise, people say either 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧 or 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧, while it's actually D and Z together. So that's where it gets challenging. But the rest of it, perfect.
Is there meaning your name, your surname?
I don't know really. So it's actually the origins of it is there are Polish origins in a surname. So there is 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧. It's a Polish background of it. But then the ending of it and what it makes it so long. In Lithuania, we have prefixes of Miss, Mr, Mrs actually included in the ending of the surname. So we don't use prefixes. We already have different endings of the surname. So all of my family members would have different ending for that based on whether you are male, female, married, or you are still Miss.
Yeah, I've just looked,
which my surname ending of my surname is.
Yeah, I just looked it up on Google actually, and it says beautiful lady.
I'm sure it did say that.
Anyway, right. So let's establish that you are from Lithuania.
Yeah.
And you're now living where?
So I live in Windsor, UK. So I lived in UK now for nearly 17 years, I think. Yeah, so
Wow.
17 years. Yeah, so that's been a while.
But you've got some, no, we're going to just take you back on a little trip down memory lane, right? So growing up in Lithuania, right? You've got brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have one younger brother. Yeah, one brother.
And he's traveled or living abroad or in
So my brother,
Lithuania?
he lives in Lithuania now, but he lived for many years in Netherlands as well. So he's a software developer, and in Lithuania we have quite good training for developers on IT. So he studied in France and in Netherlands. So I used to spend some time with him there, and now he's back to Lithuania.
Okay, so when you left Lithuania, where did you go?
I came to UK. I've not planned to stay here. It was supposed to be a short summer holiday. I didn't even speak English. It was I was expecting just to be a tourist for a couple of months, explore, maybe learn the language a tiny bit, and familiarize myself with the country and culture, and go back. That was
you
the original
speak,
plan.
Okay, so you didn't speak any English when you came over?
No, I didn't.
Right, and you mentioned the Netherlands with your brother. Did you live there as well?
No, I didn't live in Netherlands. I always lived in UK since I came here. So I've not lived anywhere else. Lived only in Lithuania and UK. Okay,
so when you came to travel then, because not many people speak Lithuanian, so how did you manage?
Well, you know, when you find yourself, well, I speak Russian, I speak Polish, I spoke French. So there are some other languages that I could use. But when I came to UK, I didn't speak any English. But when you find yourself in a situation where you have no chance or choice to go even back, then you are forced to start your new life here and to learn the language very quickly and to start working here and studying here. So yeah, I had to learn the language quite quickly because that was the only way I could work and pay my bills, really. So yeah.
So let's just go back a little bit before we come to the UK. So as a child growing up, did you have any hobbies, particular hobbies that you're interested in, either musical or sports or?
Well, I'm quite a creative person. So I finished School of Arts. I used to be involved in a lot of drama classes. I used to run a lot of events. I used to sing and dance for 12 years. So I was quite creative. I used to write poetry and published a few bits of pieces of writing. So I think I really, at that time when I was at school, I really was looking more into that creative field. And I thought that that's where my future is maybe going to be.
So you sang on stage?
I used to do more of a kind of drama and poetry readings and yeah, things like that, performances on stage.
This was at school?
Yeah, so it was still when I was at school. I used to host events, so a lot of, yeah, so I used
even
to
then
host events. Yeah.
Wow. So did that give you kind of the taste for more kind of speaking now?
I think it really gave me a very, very good background for public speaking because I really had to learn all of the techniques for, you know, reaching your audience, creating the right environment. And as you're hosting live events, there's always something happening that you haven't prepared for. So you get into the habit of improvising all the time and really speaking on stage freely, which is really, really valuable to me now, which I've never thought that I would be using it in that kind of context, but it's definitely a very, very valuable skill for me.
Yeah, because I think I learned the hard way. I always looked at people at school, like and kids that are on the stage, and I always wanted to do it, but I never had the courage. And my biggest fear was myself. But I found that later on, particularly in the last many years now, doing public speaking, although I dreaded it at the beginning, you get so used to it, you can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that background in doing drama or arts at school. And so I learned the hard way. So would you say that from learning at school definitely made it easier because you kind of recall those things about maybe the way you stand, maybe your breathing and everything?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest learning there is to read the crowd and respond to what they need and how they're feeling. Because when you get to host different types of events with different audiences, including kids, sometimes very small kids, and sometimes, you know, it's adults, and sometimes it's guests from different countries, and you have to also translate certain things. It gets interesting. And there was one learning that I had that was from my colleague who was running an event, who was translating for me from French. So the French guest speakers were speaking on a stage, and then translator was translating. And at some point he said, I have no idea what they've just said, but that's supposed to be funny. And everyone laughed. And it was very interesting because then the guests complimented on that, saying, it's very difficult to translate some of the jokes and some of the phrases. And, you know, this translation is really good to translate it to the way you can get the jokes. So for me, that was a very, very big learning, to say that, you know, you have to improvise on the spot. And sometimes you can't just, you know, go according to the plan and so on. Yeah, I think there's a lot of experiences like that you get from, co-hosting events on the stage. Yeah.
Exactly. So I know we could talk about this all day. So let's kind of now come forward. So what made you decide, and at what age did you leave Lithuania? I mean, it'd be nice to talk about more Lithuania and kind of your upbringing, but in the essence of time and to kind of move this forward a little bit, although you can be a guest another time, we can find out a lot more. So at what age did you leave from Lithuania, and why particular the UK?
Well, the first thing is that I haven't decided. And it was never a conscious decision to actually move to a different country or to live elsewhere. So I've been brought up in what was then Soviet Union, and, you know, been raised through the years of independence and through the years where there's a lot of kind of national culture. I was quite a patriot of my country, I would say, and I wouldn't have dreamed in my wildest dreams that I would live abroad. I'd love to travel and explore. I've never planned to move, or never mind raise kids or run businesses elsewhere. So I was 19, and when I came here initially, like I mentioned, was supposed to be just a short summer holiday. I came here with my boyfriend at the time to visit his cousin for a summer. And it was a very awkward situation, because when we came, it was 2004, and it was the year when all of the Eastern European bloc joined European Union. So as you can imagine, there was this influx of people from Eastern Europe coming to UK and probably other countries. So we came as guests, but by the time we arrived, my partner's cousin, she was not working, her boyfriend was not working, they had some other guests in their house, and we've been put in this awkward situation where we came as visitors, and we could not stay with her anymore, and we had to go and find our own accommodation and pay our own bills and so on. So when you find yourself in that place, also back then, if you think of the differences in economy, so £1 was 5.4 Lithuanian litas. So it doesn't matter how much money you can bring from your country, it will not be enough. Right? So I was in a situation where I couldn't even afford to buy a ticket to go back home. But the way I was growing up, and I saw my parents working so hard throughout all of this post-Soviet era, and really working hard to establish their own lives, I could not ask them to to buy me a ticket and so on. And therefore I felt like I had no choice just to call them and say, oh, Mom, Dad, it's so great here. I'll stay. Where in fact, I was pretty much homeless, had no money, had no money for food, and did not want to put that burden on them to get me back home. But I thought, I got myself into this, I'm gonna have to find a way out. So initially I started working as a cleaner in a hotel. And
where were you living at the time then? I mean, with the people you came over with? Or?
Yeah. So we just, stayed in some kind of shared, crowded accommodation there, paying our rent there, and yeah, it was not a very enjoyable experience at that stage. Yeah, and then when I started working as a cleaner in a hotel, as you can imagine, someone who doesn't speak the language, you're always being pushed to do the most horrible and the dirtiest jobs that are out there. All the staff would go into my rooms, collect my tips. Before that, there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of discrimination. There was a lot of the way I was treated was really painful in a way. But I think me as a kind of naive 19-year-old just going with the flow, I didn't realize how bad it was until one day I was cleaning a hotel room and I heard the lock of the door open. So sometimes people who stay in a hotel, they come back earlier. So of course I thought that they are there, and there was this very nasty supervisor who came in, and he was really unpleasant person, really from hygiene point of view, person that you don't want to get close to him, and always like smelling of alcohol, of cigarettes, of very, very unpleasant person. And there he came in the room. He locked the door from inside. He put "Do Not Disturb" card on the door. He was walking towards me with his big grin on his face, undoing his belt. And I had a really big shock there in that moment. But I was really lucky that I was cleaning the so-called double room that has a door to adjacent room. So I've climbed over the bed. I ran to the other side. I ran away from the room, from the hotel, and I still had my Blue Maiden's uniform, my cleaning gloves, and I ran into the street. And I remember like I was running in the middle of the Oxford Street in the middle of the rush hour with my cleaning uniform, running away from whatever happened, from myself, and just really not comprehending yet what happened. And I was running there, and then suddenly there was this thought that started, this voice that started playing in my mind, saying, I'm better than this. I'm better than this. I'm better than this. And there was this anger in me, and there was this energy there that, I didn't come here to be treated this way. No one deserves to be treated this way. And it's up to me to create a better future. It's up to me to create better environment. It's up to me to find better surroundings and people who will treat me with respect and kindness, and not this way. So yeah.
No, sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a terrible but not an uncommon story. I mean, we've had other guests that been in a similar situation. Yeah. So I mean, once you ran away, you never returned. I mean, that was just it. But at that time, could you report someone, and was anything done, or you just wanted to be done with it?
Well, I didn't even speak English. I wouldn't even know where to go. I wouldn't even know who to speak to. So I think, it's probably quite common, and how easy it is to abuse someone who is in that system where, when you think about this, I'm little girl who just finished school, right? I'm 19-year-old in a foreign country with no parents, with no support. I wouldn't know where to go. So of course, there was nothing that could be done from that point of view. You know, so it's and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are experience those things. You're right, absolutely.
So I know this is a terrible thing, but that was kind of your turning point also, in the way that if you're going to do something about it, it has to come from within, and you've got to change the way that you are, in the way that you don't want this situation to happen again, but you're much worthier than anything like that anyway. You just needed to find the courage to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if that didn't happen, you know, who knows? Maybe now I would still be cleaning hotel rooms, right? And accepting that as normal reality. And I think we need sometimes those things in our life to really push us out of our comfort zone and really question our reality. Mm-hmm. And that really gave me a lot of motivation to make a change and to do something different. And it was amazing, because as soon as I made that intention that, you know, I'm better than this and I'll create something better out of my life, then different opportunities came my way. And the way, you know, I found my next job and the way some other opportunities came to me was probably a reflection of that internal intention and energy and that commitment that I made to myself, and a promise that I made to myself to lead a better life.
Okay, so I mean, from that moment on, I mean, you've remained in the UK. It wasn't something that kind of put you off that I've got to go back to Lithuania or somewhere else. You remained, and then you created a new life for yourself. So kind of what happened after that?
So after that, actually, the very next day after this happened, I was really determined to find a better job. So I traveled to Oxford Street, and I went to every door, to every restaurant, to every shop, to every place, you know, with the biggest smile, with the most positive energy that I could bring. And as you can imagine, in that time as well, you could see all of these big posters, people saying like, we are not looking for staff, because it was overwhelm of foreigners moving from Eastern Europe as European Union expanded that time. So it was very, very difficult. And when you don't even speak the language, how on earth do you find that job? So for me, my entry to my new journey of life was when I was walking around through that Oxford Street. I saw a 𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗏 sign. So it's a French name, and you know, my eyes lit up, because I think, well, it's amazing. It's a French company. I don't speak English, but I speak French. So, you know, it's perfect, because I can go in there and I can make a difference. So I go in there and I look around and find this manager. There's this tall, skinny Italian guy called Danilo. So I come up to him, and, you know, he's looking down on me, and I come up to him speaking in French, and I start sharing with him about my experience and how I used to help my dad run his catering business, how I can bring so much value, and why he should employ me. And he's trying to interrupt me, and I just keep spilling. And after maybe like 15, 20 minutes, he still keep trying to tell me, and he stops me eventually, and he's trying to tell me that they don't look for staff, that they're not the French company, that he doesn't speak French. and I still keep going, and I still don't understand fully what he's saying to me. And it was really interesting, because he ended up employing me for the reasons which I still do not understand. I never worked for him even a single day. As he employed me, he sorted all of the documents for me. He went with me to the bank. He opened for me bank account. He went to me with the office to sort national insurance number. He paid me the salary for the initial, you know, first few weeks or whatever. And he actually sent me to work to one of his colleagues' stores in Canary Wharf. And to me, it was like one of these kind of serendipitous moments where something is given to you and you are in the right place at the right time, but you also have courage to create those opportunities for yourself. And I didn't give up. I stayed in that store, and I was talking to him and smiling and so on, until he had no choice but to employ me. Mm-hmm. And So to me, it was really kind of a start of that journey. And other interesting thing, which was such interesting coincidence, was that the store where he sent me to work had most of her staff were Polish, and I spoke Polish. So I went, so even though I didn't speak English, I went to the company that I thought is French because I spoke French. And then I've been sent to the store that had all the Polish employees. And that really helped me because they trained me how to do the job in Polish, really. And I started working that way as making sandwiches and cleaning the kitchens. And I used to work from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening. And then from 7 to 9 in the evening, I used to go to English classes to learn the language. And I did this for quite a while until I really kind of got myself back onto my feet. And it was hard. Obviously, it was really hard. And because I didn't speak English, I really tried to compensate everything with my hard work. So I would look around and I think, well, maybe I didn't understand something. Maybe I've missed something. So I'm just going to do a bit extra. And I always went that extra mile and did a little bit extra to what was expected of me. So management noticed that very quickly and they promoted me very quickly. So it was interesting because I've stayed with that company for 13 years.
Wow.
And I've went through all of their training, all of their promotions. I've then raised a child while working with them. I had a degree and they always kept me there and looked after me very well, I would have to say.
So really, it was kind of being opportunist, walking down the streets in London and finding the right person that would give you that opportunity. Yeah. Because if it wasn't for him,
yeah,
well, you don't know what would have happened. But I mean,
absolutely.
Did you ever keep in touch with him?
Well, it was very interesting because I did eventually, after a few years, probably quite a few years down the line, I met him as well at one of the corporate events. And I walked up to him and I thanked him and I wanted to share with him where I am and what I've achieved because he gave me that chance. And he wouldn't even remember who am I. So he wouldn't recognize me. And that was very interesting because, you know, to me, it was a sign that, it was something that he just did, it's not because I was somehow special. It's just, the opportunities and the way things evolved. It's so important to have people in our lives who believe in us, who notice us, and sometimes give us a chance, right? And yeah, he was just one of those people who created those chances and opportunities for others around him. So yeah, I've been really blessed with that.
It's a very emotional story. I mean, I feel it actually when you're saying it. But I mean, it's a gift when you meet people like that because they go out of their way to help you make a difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they don't want anything in return. It's just
That's right.
natural. Yeah. But anyway, let's kind of move forward. You mentioned there that you also raised the child. So tell it, you have a...
Yeah, so I have a daughter. She's 16 now, so it's not a child anymore. I do feel like, I have a friend at home just to share my company during lockdown and so on.
So she's not there now?
She is with me. Yes, she's studying, so she's at school.
She's not going to pop in and say hello?
She's at school, so yeah, it's been great to have her, but of course it's a challenge when
you've told her to be quiet in the other room, have you?
No, she's at school.
Oh, she's at school. Okay.
She's at school.
Yeah.
So of course it was really challenging because while I was working crazy hours and I was studying and learning the language, then went to university, and that was still not enough. I still went to volunteer with suicidal people and work in the charity there. So there were those crazy few years where I used to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. And obviously that beginning was difficult. but I've built my career with 𝗓𝗘. Then I had my degree, but working like this for many years and really not having time to rest, not having time to sleep, I ended up burning out physically. I once collapsed at work. I wasn't able to breathe. My legs just gave up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't understand what's happening with me. It was a big shock, because I was the one who's always taking everything on and never stopping. And then suddenly my body just gave up. And I've been taken to A&E, and a while later I've learned that actually I have a huge tumor inside my chest.
Oh.
So I had to have this operation to remove tumor from my back. Because of the size of the tumor, they had to remove 2 of my ribs. And
how long ago was this?
So this was maybe 7 years ago or so.
But everything's fine now?
Yes.
Thank
So
goodness.
I'm really lucky that the operation went well, and I'm lucky that the tumor was benign. But obviously we didn't know it, at that time, and the severity and the size of the tumor inside my chest, it was pushing into my lungs, and it just had to be removed the way that it was. So I had 7-hour operation to remove it.
Wow.
And the night before the operation, where you have team of the doctors coming in to explain to you what's going to happen, you are then given this document to sign that says, I agree with all the consequences of this operation, including my own death. And it was that night when I was reflecting on my life and where I am and how I got to where I am, that I was really filled with regret. Because I looked back and I thought, yes, I came to this foreign country, I proved myself, I've created new life, I've built my career, but at what cost? I sacrificed my relationships. I've sacrificed my health. I didn't have time for myself or doing anything that I love doing. I regretted every moment I didn't spend with my little daughter when she was growing up, as I was always so busy and I was bringing her along with other things that I was already doing. And I was just filled with this regret. And I was thinking, that's not the way to lead your life. That's not the way to be a part of a, little cog in this corporate money-making machine, with 𝗓𝗘 as well. I got to the place where I was I was part of the pioneer project that helped to expand stores out of London into regional locations. So at the time, I had quite a responsible position where I was opening new stores, developing operational models, supporting managers, developing leadership schemes and training programs, developing people to facilitate companies' growth. So it was a great place to be, considering to where I was when I first came to England. And that night, reflecting on all of that, it was not worth it. And I made that promise to myself that if I wake up after that operation, I'll have to find better ways to lead my life. I'll have to find better ways to lead life without sacrifices, and to bring that meaning and purpose into what I want to do, which was a big breaking point that changed, that led me to then leaving corporate career and really doing what I do today.
So you've had a bit of a bumpy ride, to say the least, and you've had a number of turning points, but they've led on to bigger and better things as well. And now what you do, we should touch on, because we need to get to your business side of things, right, and particularly because of today's quite a significant day on the calendar, and you talked about mental health, and I just like to understand how you got into that. So you do mental health, neuroscience, and general kind of well-being. So should tell us, did you fall into that kind of by accident? Was it from your personal experiences, or was it from talking to others and seeing
Yeah,
how
so it's a combination of things. So you see, Lithuania is one of the countries that has one of the biggest suicide rates in the world. So as I was building my career and as I worked for 𝗓𝗏 and I've helped them to expand the business and really work in that business development environment, I also went to volunteer for charity called 𝗦𝗘𝗘𝗞 that works with suicidal people. It was kind of my way of giving back and maybe kind of contributing to Lithuanian cause. And I've lost quite a few people in my life to suicide. So there was a classmate, a teacher, a neighbor, uncle who hanged himself in my parents' house. Another relative who was only 23 and he left a 4-year-old child behind. And it's, to me, volunteering at 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗏 kind of felt a bit of like giving back and contributing to that cause. But also sometimes you work with people who are there because they have deep underlying mental health issues, because of the way they've been brought up, because of their past traumas. But there was this moment where I was in that charity, and right in front of me, there was this person that if you look at him in any other context, you think this person has it all. He has great career and great income and family and 2 grown-up kids and money and good looks, you name it, right? And then there he was in this respite center for suicidal, not wanting to live. And I'm on the other side of the table. I'm the one supporting him. I'm in a foreign country. I don't have the money, support, and all of these things that he has, and I'm really working 70-hour weeks to provide for myself and my daughter, right? But I never felt this way. So what's the difference, right? And I think you as well, guys, you know, if you think about this, you will know that sometimes you put 2 people in exactly the same scenario, in exactly the same circumstances. One will go, yay, I'm going to learn and grow with this and become better. And another person will end up stressed, depressed, anxious, suicidal, not wanting to live. So to me, that was a big light bulb moment that really prompted me on the research journey to find the answers. So why people respond so differently to the same challenges that we go through. So I started studying NLP, psychology, hypnotherapy. It was not enough. I really wanted to understand what's happening in a brain, you know, when you do those amazing NLP techniques. So then I went to study neuroscience, and I was just studying that for my own interest. And I continued to support people on voluntary basis. And I ended up working with people who could not be helped by anyone else. So people who've been on lifelong therapy, people who've been on medication, and they lost all hope. And when you go to, let's say, NLP training, when you go to traditional coaching training, they will say, oh, but you know, once you meet someone who's suicidal, depressed, and so on, you can't work with them. Like, it's too dangerous. You know, this is the field of therapists. And I refused to listen to that because I already had experience working with suicidal people and I had that exposure. I wanted to find a way to help. I wanted to find a way to support them. And I developed a lot of my own approaches of doing that and applying coaching to mental health. And I did that alongside working in 𝗓𝗏 and building my career for a while, just on voluntary basis. So as you can imagine, I kind of had those 2 parallel things, right? On one hand, you're working with corporate environments, you're working with this high performance. On the other hand, you're working with complete opposites of, you know, very, very vulnerable people. And I was doing that on voluntary basis at that stage. So it's when I had my tumor, when I had that operation, then I realized that that's where I should be putting my effort. That's where I should be putting my time. That's where it's really motivating and rewarding for me to do. So I started initially working in that field as a therapist, as a mental health coach. But then again, I had this great background of helping corporate leaders, developing management. So eventually I combined that and set up my own consultancy called 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧 that helped to bridge the gap between those two worlds that I was experiencing.
How long ago was that when you created your own company? Were you still in the current in the previous job at the same time, and you were doing it in parallel, or you gave it up?
So I've evolved through different stages. So I set up initially, my company was called Be Your Light. Then it evolved into something more kind of corporate, where I've combined it and brought the therapeutic experiences into that, and that's where I set up 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧. And it's been stages of development. So I think initially I started doing some of the therapeutic work from 2009, 2010. And I was still working in 𝗓𝗏 for alongside that while I was still doing it. And officially, I think I launched 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧 2016, probably the beginning of 2016, something like that.
Okay. I'm just looking at your LinkedIn profile.
It might not be even, it might not even.
Which is not always the right dates anyway, because a lot of the time we kind of fill in gaps and things. But so, I mean, I admire what you do now. So where are you effectively in the business? I mean, do you face your own challenges? Are you growing as a business? You do it on your own? Do you do it with other people, or how does that work?
Well, at this stage, I'm very, very privileged to have a team that are working for me. So initially, when I set up 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧, I was working with other people on associate basis. So I would go into organizations, I would do initial consulting piece, and then I would custom build their support program. So for leadership development, for training, for well-being support, and I would get some other partners on associate basis to sometimes deliver pieces of that. Now, most of it was driven still under leadership and organizational development with a twist of well-being and neuroscience brain-based approaches. But the more time went on, I was being pulled in more and more into mental health and well-being space, to the point where actually during the pandemic, I ended up co-founding another company. And we now are building a psychometric assessment for mental health. So a lot of working in those two fields, I could see so many challenges in a way how people who really struggle are not receiving support. And a lot of mental health and well-being, both in public NHS sector and as well in the way it's addressed in organizations, it's very reactive. It's very symptoms-based. It's very kind of only supporting people once they are at the crisis point. But there's nothing there that is preventative, that is proactive, that is that could create those environments to prevent those issues happening in the first place.
Exactly. So actually, on that note, you see it. You can actually see the build-up, and you see it particularly in the corporate world when you say about a colleague or a friend. Are you sure they're okay? And they say they're okay, but they're obviously not. But you're not qualified necessarily enough to understand anymore. So then the next day, they're either fine or whatever, but maybe they have these underlying problems and they need someone to talk to. And there's no one there offering that.
And there are still no tools to do that. And one thing that is really kind of taking off is, let's talk about mental health.
Exactly.
And mental health first aid, for example, in UK here, there's this huge movement of mental health first aid. But if any of you have actually, I don't know if any of you have done mental health first aid training. So mental health first aid training is pretty much awareness education. It will tell you how depression looks like. It will tell you how anxiety looks like. It will tell you what are symptoms for schizophrenia and so on. But it's only giving you awareness with a very good intention of having that conversation with that person who's maybe going through that. But now, if you think about this, the labeling that you are depressed, suicidal, mental, whatever mental health labels that we are assigned to people, that's a big problem in our society that is stigmatizing and causing a lot of problems. So they claim to be promoting that, but they are doing it in a wrong way, because they are still basing it on this the same diagnostic statistical manual that is a problem in the entire mental health field in the first place. The other big issue there is that there is nothing proactive there. There's nothing actionable. The only thing that it allows you to do is to build awareness and refer them to exactly the same inefficient, ineffective system. Go back to your GP, go back to call this charity, go back and call this helpline. So when I attended there, it's like, what do you do if somebody is having a panic attack? What do you do if someone's just about to jump off the bridge? What do you do? So none of those practical things were there.
Mm-hmm.
So my approach is really to look at how can we even prevent people from getting to that place. And while there's a lot of talk, companies don't know how to create the right environments to support their people, and individuals don't know how to build that right resilience to cope better with those life challenges. So as you know, as me spending that research, what makes the difference between people who thrive and who crumble with the same environments, I could use a lot of that neurobiology research to develop some of those practical tools and techniques and say, so this is exactly what you can do. This is what you can do as an individual. This is how can you support yourself. And this, what organizations can do to create the right environment. Because at the end of the day, it's a relationship between the two. You can have the strongest mindset, but your environment is still bigger than you. And if you have too much stress, too much pressure, too much responsibility, you will still be crushed under that. Another way around, you can be the most supportive culture in a business. If as an individual, you don't have that individual resilience, you will still not be able to perform at the level. So to me, what we do is really the new tool that we're developing, the psychometric assessment for mental health called Wellbeing Compass, is really assessing those two and building on the relationship. How can you build the individual resilience? How can you build that perfect environment for businesses that supports that individual?
Yeah, so I mean, we all see it. I mean, I think there should be some fundamental things kind of in the workplace or even in the educational system.
Yeah.
I mean, things like also first aid. I mean, if someone has an accident and you're there, what do you do?
Yeah.
People just panic and think, well, I don't know what to do. And
where's the controller?
In the cupboard.
But just the black one or not?
Yeah, I'll find it in a minute.
No.
Do you want to say hello to everyone?
No, you don't need to.
It's so sweet.
I will in a minute, Sam.
Where is it? Which cupboard?
Close cupboard. Where the vacuum cleaner is on the top shelf. Right. Okay.
I need to bribe them with sweets.
No, he wants to watch the TV, and I told him not to, but anyway, he wants to know where the controller is so he can go and turn the TV on. But anyway, actually, he learns a lot from Shaun the sheep, right? Which is great fun. Yeah, I was just saying that. So, I mean, I think as part of the educational system, and particularly at work, I mean, we talk about well-being and quality of life, and well-being is also understanding, right? And also how to administer even some basic fundamentals. And if someone was going to jump off a bridge, what would you do? Would you just shout something, or is there a kind of a protocol of the basic things you could say? In Switzerland in particular, like you said, Lithuania has a high suicide rate. I would never have imagined that.
Yeah.
And because I hear the same story in Switzerland, Switzerland's the third highest in the world. And now I think, well, wow, everyone seems to be trying to, which country's got the highest, and it seems to be a flagship thing. Oh yeah, we've got the highest. No, we have got the highest suicide. And I think, well, we shouldn't have any, right? So, but I think it goes back to many different things. I mean, also finding your purpose at the beginning, because a lot of the time they take people out of the workplace because you've seen the anxiety, the stress, and then the burnout. and then they've gone off to a clinic for 6 months, pumped full of medication, and then they come out of there and they go back to the environment that was probably the place that was causing the problem in the first place, with the bad boss. And as soon as they walk in, that anxiety, oh no, the boss again. And then a month later, they're back in the clinic. And so what they did here was put nets under the bridges and high places. So yeah, it make it harder for them to jump. And I think, well, surely that's not preventing that. If someone wants to commit suicide, they're not necessarily going to jump off a bridge.
They'll find an alternative way. They'll find a different way. They're not
they
going to jump off the bridge. They do something else.
But anyway, we're kind of on time. I mean, and I want to carry on this conversation. I don't know if people want to stay on a bit longer. I just need to pop down and sort my son out. But feel free now to open it up to the audience, so the audience can start asking questions. You can ask them questions, and I'll excuse me, I'll be back in a minute.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear any questions or any observations, any reflections that you guys are having. One little thing actually that I can build on what James just said is that a lot of companies are doing those kind of tick box exercises that are quite superficial, but not really addressing the real cause. So there is even a difference between wellness and well-being. So when you look at wellness, you have your gym memberships, you have your yoga classes, you have, your fruit bowl and, cycling to work schemes. Those are all nice to have things that are, can keep you more fit, can keep you all of that, but actually they don't address strategically why maybe your people are stressed, depressed, anxious in the workplace in the first place. When you look at well-being, now this is your staff being happy with life, with work, with their meaning and purpose and so on. And this is the difference, that a lot of people talk now about mental health and well-being, but what they really do is just wellness initiatives. It's not a real well-being applied from strategic point of view. Winifred, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. My question to you, Ewelina, is, so in your research and the work you've been doing with suicidal people, why do you think people react in different ways like the example you gave of this person that had the right job, had everything going for them, and still they felt suicidal? And then, looking at yourself that has come from all these, has faced these challenges to get to where you are, you've reacted differently. Why do you think that's okay?
Yeah, so that was, interesting to me to research and have those answers. And it's really about how we respond to our experience, what lessons we learned from our past experiences and traumas. So when you look at suffering, when you look at pain, when you look at trauma, it's universal. We all experience some of it. We have some pain, some trauma, some difficult experiences. But people take different learnings out of those experiences. And then you can look, so what makes the difference between, whether you actually take the bad lesson out of it and you say, okay, I'm useless, I'm not good enough, this will always happen to me, and you always live your life as a victim. Or you step up and you say, I will learn from this experience, I know now what not to do, I will try something different. So there are some internal capacities for internal resilience that determines the difference between the two. So one is your ability to regulate your internal emotions. So this is the way we regulate our stress, the way we regulate our even kind of emotional understanding, being able to read your internal emotions and regulate the internal neurochemical balance based on that. The second thing is your external resilience and adaptation. So how well you're able to adapt to changes. So the way you communicate to your partner and the way you communicate to your boss, the way you adapt and change your behaviors when you move jobs, when you move to different country, how well you're able to change your behavior to fit the environment. So first is internal regulation. Second is external adaptation and behavior to the environment. And the third is really your ability to apply your knowledge in practice. because you will see there's a lot of people who are personal development addicts, right? They'll go to every course and every lecture and attend lifetime therapy, but actually their life doesn't get better because of this. So it's our ability to act on that and implement this in reality. So for many years, I've then developed some of my therapeutic approaches, and work is really based on developing those 3 areas of resilience and allowing people to develop those skills. Then I've actually realized that there is a 4th aspect that involves your identity. And that is very important, because as we go through life, as we go through changes, we develop different aspects of our identity that shapes our understanding of who do we think we are. And that identity in itself can be either empowering or limiting. And it kind of underlines all of these 3 points there. Because if you think about, let's say, those 2 different conflicted environments in which I worked, you work with high successful executives, leaders. I go in to have a session with them. I ask them a question like, when was the last time you cried? And they will say like, no, I can't do that. I'm a leader. I'm supposed to be a role model. I have to be strong. So they have this identity of, I'm a CEO, I'm a leader, therefore I can only behave this way. Then and that creates a limitation, because they're not allowing them to read their own emotions, to express maybe themselves in a different life areas and so on. You look at people who are suffering with mental health issues. Now, people don't say, I feel depressed or I feel anxious. But they say, I am depressed, I am anxious. And the traditional therapy world actually embeds this and strengthens this by giving those labels. You suffer with PTSD, you have this, you have that. Now person becomes that, and I am, right? It's not I feel anymore, it's I am. As soon as you take that as that's who I am, now it becomes limiting, because now you will find excuses. I cannot go out because I suffer with anxiety. I cannot change my life and create those opportunities for myself because I suffer with depression. So the aspect of identity becomes very important in that, because you need to be able to adapt your responses and change your identity when it no longer serves the purpose. So we develop some of our identities because it fitted the purpose. Mm-hmm. You develop some specific boundaries, it served the purpose in that specific environment. But as we move through life, need to be able to evolve, and what I call identity evolution, to kind of constantly adapt to the challenges. That is very, very important. And that takes a lot of deep self-understanding work, looking at who you are, what are your values, what you really what you're here for, what you really want to be doing, where are you going. So it's it's those 4 aspects really that I would say really makes the biggest difference.
I think just to also just build up on that, so when you see what's happening today with a lot of identity politics that makes you say, I'm Black, so I am victimized, I'm a woman, I don't have as much opportunities. And, this whole trend of victimization that is taken up, do you think that also contributes to the fact that, I am Black, I'm African, I don't consider myself as a victim of racism, the way people try to make it seem in the media and things like that. More so, I think it's, you have these opportunities in life, you have challenges, everyone does. I think it's the way you handle it that really matters. And so when you see all this, I think for me, what I also think is we're living in a time where people are being allowed to have excuses as opposed to actually going there to do something, rather than saying, okay, I'll try and do this. Oh, because you're gay, because you're a woman, because you're Black, these are the reasons why you're not doing well. Do you think that also plays a role in why maybe we're having a lot of all these suicidal rates and things?
It does. So I think a lot of our modern society's problems that we're creating, right? So including mental health issues, including the amount of suicides that we have, including, racism and discrimination. stems from the fact that the way we lead our lives today in a modern society is very, very far from the way we have evolved as human beings from neurobiological evolutionary perspective to survive. So people are so far away from understanding what drives us internally, that we do not control anymore those, impulses, urges, fears, which then create some of those problems. So even when you look at, we have some of those deep needs to belong, to be part of the group, to survive. The safety and survival is our, biggest need. To explore environment, to explore opportunities, but all of that have subconscious evolutionary drivers, which we don't understand. And because we don't understand it, we are always in conflict with that, and creates a lot of trouble. So even if I give you example of, let's say, stress, right? Even the whole mechanism, neurobiological mechanism of stress is a natural survival mechanism, which evolved to respond to real threats like tigers attacking you. But in a modern environment, because of the way our brain evolved to the point that neocortex, that rational human part of the brain, can override the neural circuits, it can also override in a negative way, because now you can activate exactly the same stress response from the neurobiological point of view just by thinking about stress. So your body is on guard, on constant elevated stress, because you're thinking about the mortgage to pay and the interview tomorrow and so on. And because we don't understand the biological mechanism, we don't know how to control it. We don't know how to regulate it. In exactly the same way, when you look at discrimination, you look at racism and so on, we have evolved to be part of the group. And therefore, for millions of years, we would have not survived on our own. So our very survival depends on part of the group. Anyone who is somehow different and that you don't have a proof that they can bring value to the group is a risk for the very survival of the group. So subconsciously, we will always be questioning someone who is anyhow different, regardless how they're different. But because we don't understand how those subconscious processes work, we justify it in, rational terms, and it comes out in, Black people are not good enough. This color of race or whatever are not hard workers. These kind of people, Spanish cannot be trusted, or whatever. Let's build a wall, right? So it's because we don't understand how we have evolved to survive. It causes a lot of trouble, and that's where I'm so passionate about kind of taking a lot of this neuroscientific research and really translating into human language, right? Because the only way to
unfortunately, I have to jump in there. I mean, this is a conversation that we could have for hours, and we kind of gone over the time now, but it's something that we should definitely continue, because it's a passion of mine as well. And what I feel, though, fundamentally, we need to go back to the beginning, not the beginning of time, but the beginning of us, because we've lost our identities from birth. We're put in different groups, and we're actually segregated rather than being that open. You're in that group because you're a boy, you're a girl, or you're black, you're white, you're able, disabled, whatever. And then you're traumatized or stigmatized with that from an early age. And then we seem to want to divide people more. So rather than bringing people together, and I think we want to be in groups of like-minded people, and we want to work like that, but society is forcing us the way that, no, they tell us what we want to do, not we make our own decision. And if you look at education as well, it's more academical skilled rather than emotional. And it's not until you get older that you actually question, well, why am I doing this job? I didn't want to do this job in the first place. But maybe nobody ever found your gifts when you were younger because it wasn't part of the educational system. And then you get into the anxiety, the stress, the suicide. And I think the prevention is better than the cure. Find out what people really want to do with their life at the beginning, and then plan how you're going to do something about it. rather than wait until a crisis happens, that you have that turning point. And for some, that turning point is suicide. And yeah, if you took them back before that, they would probably be a happy, loving person and giving and sharing the same as what we're supposed to be doing. But in a way that we have to change that mold as well. I mean, because prevention is far better than trying to cure on everything. But anyway, unfortunately we have to conclude. There's been some great comments in the chat. People had to drop off, but also left some great comments in there. So I will share the comments in 𝗏𝗏𝗏. I will also, I mean, there's a link in there to your LinkedIn profile. People that aren't on 𝗏𝗏𝗏 can see your LinkedIn or join 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and connect with you there as well. This is definitely something that I would like to talk about further. And just before we kind of wrap up, you do offer a free complimentary well-being compass assessment.
So yeah, so we are launching our Wellbeing Compass to organizations. We have a launch event on next Wednesday, 15th at 3 o'clock. So 15:15 is to make it easier for you to remember. And I'm guiding people through step-by-step to identify how to build the well-being from strategic point of view. So you're having that organizational assessment as part of that launch.
So this is an online program or online event you're doing?
It is an event online. Yes, as part of the launch, you'll get access to.
You can share details to that, so we can.
Yeah,
join.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for people that would like to, I mean, I would like to have this well-being compass assessment, just out of curiosity. I don't think it hurts.
So the individual well-being compass, you can sign up to the list to be the first one to try. We are launching it in stages.
I'll be your guinea pig.
So which one would you like to know more of? Organizational one or the individual? So I can share details.
Maybe both, if you could share both.
Yeah.
Links.
Okay. Great. Okay.
I mean, just out of curiosity, I know there's only a few people left, but would you be interested in that as well? I mean, show your hands.
Yeah, the individual ones.
Yeah, great.
And I'm sure Paul's got his hand up.
Also, I have a question. Can we help you somehow? I will send you a connection. Maybe we can also help you in your business if you need something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think everyone should connect anyway, because we've all got something that we can bring value to each other. So even if it's just advice, right? So
absolutely. So I've shared the link to sign up for their personal well-being compass, if you'd like to try that. And for the organizational one.
Where did you share the link? Where did you put it?
I just put it. Oh, sorry. I just by mistake posted it to the last person who messaged something to me. So instead of sharing it with everyone, I've just shared it to one person instead. Hold on a moment.
Okay.
There you go. So you can sign up to that. And for the business one, actually, I have it event created on LinkedIn. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I will then share with you all these different links rather than sending you a lot of different ones on here. So just connect with me on LinkedIn and just give me a shout and I'll send
it doesn't open the link.
Yeah, it's not working.
What's not working?
The 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Academy.
Oh yeah, this site can't be reached. I've got.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting.
Oh, I think after the S, it should be a. Is that the problem there? After the S?
Oh yeah, it's ACA. Yeah, you see there is a letter missing there in as I typed in there.
All right.
Right.
Boyan can help with technology.
I'll if you just connect with me on LinkedIn,
Yep.
And you let me know what exactly you're interested in, whether, you know, it's different aspects of mental health support for businesses, for you personally, for trialing Wellbeing Compass. Then I can share with you what's relevant to you, because I have so many different projects that I'm working on at the moment. So that's the Wellbeing Compass for the individual one. To share the link.
Okay, that's working.
Yeah, so I just copy that now from the website.
Okay.
And then I'll share the rest of the events and invite with you on LinkedIn.
Okay, I know we went a bit over the time, but it's a very, very interesting topic. I've got tons of questions, and we could have done on any avenue on this. I mean, very, very interesting. And yeah, I admire you for what you're doing, and kind of your bravery as well, in the way that you've had it pretty tough, and then you've picked yourself up again, and then you've had it tough again and kept going. So for where you are now, yeah, my admiration for everything that you've achieved so far.
Thank you. And it's a really pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having me, and for creating an opportunity for me to share this with others.
That's why it's important to understand people behind the business, because you could have just talked about the business. I mean, so what? I mean, 100 other people could talk about the same type of things. What makes it different is you, and
why
your
you
journey.
do what you do. Yeah,
exactly. And a lot of it's from personal experience and everything else. So that's why we do these, because we want to know the person behind the business, because you could change business, but you should stay the same. But anyway, so I thank you for being our 61st guest, right? And definitely a memorable one, although they're all memorable, and more memorable because we record them, so even better. So thank you for being our guest, and also the audience, the loyal audience that normally come on every week. I think Boyan must hold the prize for the most attended ever. Right?
Sorry for not saying, but I'm acquiring a small company.
It would be Paul. It would be Paul, but he forgets sometimes that the show's on, or gets the wrong time. So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing Paul's story. And yeah, the comments, as I said in the chat, were, I mean, you're an inspiration to everybody. They loved what you said, and I'm sure people are going to want to connect afterwards. So that's a great thing. So on that note, I wish everybody a fantastic weekend. We'll have another guest next Friday, so please join. If you haven't been a guest and would like to be a guest, let me know. If you know someone that would be a good guest, then also let them know, right? And on that note, yes, thank you for participating. And again, thanks for our guest, Ewelina.
Thank you guys. Nice to meet you and speak to you.
Bye.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right, let me just stop the recording.